In our last video, we took a look at the Best New Artist Grammy winners for the early 2000s. And normally this is the part where I go back and say something snarky about how cursed everything was, but man, we really got away clean last time, huh? It was still an interesting pool of nominees, some good old-fashioned cheese for us to have a giggle at, but now we're on to the latter half of the decade, and whoo boy, look, fair warning, it's not going to be nearly as neat and tidy as the last one was. Not by a long shot, but you all probably know the deal by now. Let's take a look back at the Best New Artist Grammy winners, the nominees, the folks that got snubbed, and see for ourselves if any of these winners were cursed by that BNA win. Let's get rolling. 2005, or rather 2004. Yeah, remember folks, the years we're covering technically cover the music from the year previous. We've done a handful of these videos now. It's weird, I probably shouldn't have structured it like this, but I don't know, I'm dumb. But yeah, 2004, it really did have some bangers in it. Usher's Confessions, Green Day's American Idiot, my personal favorite U2 album drops this year, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. I know that's a really weird choice. I don't know, maybe someday we'll get into it. Rise Against make their major label debut with Siren Song of the Counterculture, Modest Mouse's modern masterpiece, good news for people who love bad news drops, De La Soul's Grind Date, Interpol's Antics, PJ Harvey's Her, lots of really good stuff here, but none of those are debuts. Remember, those are all from established artists. In terms of debuts, what do we have? Yeah, you see what I mean? Los Lonely Boys, I sorta, kinda, barely remember them being a thing, sure. Admittedly though, yeah, I'm not exactly the target demo here. But, you know, this Tex-Mex style of rock definitely had its place. Los Lobos, ZZ Top, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Hell, this would actually fit in pretty well with Susan Tedeschi's general vibe from the last episode. Remember her? But also, like with Susan Tedeschi, again, it's not bad. It would have been an awesome choice for, like, 1995, but 2005? Best New Artist. I don't want to seem like I'm digging too hard on these guys. In fact, putting this on during a particularly scorching-ass Midwestern summer. Wow, really, I left that line in the script. That's how long it took me to finish this goddamn episode. Talk about curses. But putting this on during a scorching Midwestern summer, cracking a Modelo, and, you know, lighting up a nice, big, fat... I could honestly vibe to this. And, you know, I hate to admit it, but the closer I get to 40, which is really goddamn close these days, y'all, the more I admire this kind of chill vibes, dad rock, easygoing kind of scene. But I don't know, that's like the best thing I can say about it. It's good vibes. It's excellent vibes. Best New Artist? Absolutely not. I'm sorry. Who else do we got? Do you want a little bit of my love? Oh yeah, there's someone else I haven't thought about in like literally 20 years. Joss Stone. Again, this is someone who's kind of a big deal if you're into the whole blue-eyed soul scene, something we absolutely will be revisiting many times throughout this video, believe me. She definitely had momentum back then too. Her debut, The Soul Sessions, cracked the top 40 and would eventually get to gold. She has an absolutely beautiful alto voice, and for a white girl from Kent,
because when the trees are chopped down, there will not be any oxygen. And when there's no oxygen, there won't be any of us.
She brings way more soul to the table than you'd think. Hey, if you're into the whole blue-eyed soul singer thing, Joss Stone probably needs no introduction. She's definitely one of the more recognizable names in that genre. But man, again, we are just reaching into the niches this year again, aren't we? Like Chicano, Blue-Eyed Soul. Is this really the best we got? Come on, there's got to be something a little more unique.
I got posters on my wall of Skinner, Kid and Strip.
I guess not. Oh my. Gretchen Wilson. Again, anybody remember her? She got nominated for her debut, Here for the Party, a very, very, very mid-ass 2000s country album. I'm sorry, folks, but listen to this thing. Bland music set to pandering wannabe white trash lyrics. This is the kind of thing you'd hear blaring out of someone's Jeep while they're wearing a camo vest, sure. But it's like a brand new Jeep and a $200 Ralph Lauren camo vest. This just screams blue-collar cosplay to me. I'm sorry, I'm sure she has her fans. I'm sure they'll be very vocal in that comments section. But listening to this, and also poking around at the rest of her catalog, I have an allergic reaction to this kind of thing. I instantly recoiled from this kind of music. Again, maybe it's just a case where I'm not the target demo. By this point, I was also way off the country wagon back in the day. I wasn't listening to much country, period. I wouldn't be the best judge. Okay, you got me there. But even taking my own element out of things, this record is just a great big old nothing burger. Nothing instrumentation, nothing arrangements. Gretchen's not a particularly impressive singer, and her lyrics...
Some people look down on you, but I don't give a rip. I stand barefoot in my own, going, want me to lay on my hip, 'cause I'm a redneck woman.
Country cosplay, very try-hard. She leans really hard into that one of the boys mentality, but like...
I ain't never been to Barbie down time. No, I can't swig that sweet champagne. I'd rather drink beer all night. Victoria's Secret, well, their stuff's real nice. Oh, but I can buy the same damn thing on a Walmart shelf, half price.
Okay, we get it. You're stinky. You probably don't shower. You're a female version of Pigpen wearing a Confederate flag belt buckle. You probably get tons of UTIs and have no idea why it keeps happening. I'm not impressed, honey. Please go take a shower. Again, I'm no expert at this kind of country, but I know what I like, and yeah, I really do not like this. Please tell me there's at least one person on this list that gives me something to talk about. Pretty please. Wait, why did you play that clip? Why did you play that clip? No, why did you play that goddamn clip? Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
Everybody says, who does he think he is? I just told you who I thought I was. A God.
You ain't got the answers. You ain't been doing the education. You ain't been doing the education. You don't have the answers though. Because you trying to give me advice about something. You ain't got the answer. You ain't spent $13 million of your own money trying to empower yourself.
I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Don't take another fucking photo, man.
I just got here, homie.
Don't take no photos.
Okay.
Stop it. Brother, all of you motherfuckers, stop it, man! Just about slavery for 400 years. For 400 years, that sounds like a choice. No, I used to jack off to you too. What do it take to be number one? You in the presence of the champion. I see good things about Hitler also.
How in the sweet rotisserie fried Jesus am I supposed to talk about Kanye goddamn West in 2024 and keep it under 500 words? I'm fucked. It is insanely hard to talk about Kanye, partially due to the immeasurable effect he's had on hip-hop as a whole, but mostly because
I also love Nazis. But they did good things too. We're gonna stop dissing the Nazis all the time.
Kanye makes it hard to talk about him, you know? Thankfully, I also have the luxury of not having to discuss the man's
I like Hitler.
present. Thank God we can laser focus on the past. Kanye got nominated on the strength of College Dropout, an album that feels like an eternity ago these days, doesn't it? That record feels like it came out in the goddamn Stone Age. And I know it's hard to divorce the Kanye we have now from the Kanye who came before all that. Because man, if you are listening closely to this record,
you can rap about anything except for Jesus. That means gun, sex, lies, videotape. But if I talk about God, my record won't get played.
the clues were always kinda there, but like, if you can separate all of that from the music itself, and believe me, I know that's a lot to have to fucking separate for its time. I don't know, even as an ardent and very long-time Kanye hater, it's kind of hard to overlook just how important this record is. I mean, College Dropout was such an odd move in 2004. While Kanye was far from the first person to write more personal and self-conscious hip-hop, he was one of the first people out there to actually make that style cross over to the masses and allow it to become not only a big deal, but the biggest deal in the entire genre. You gotta remember, this little album that could about chasing after your biggest fantasies was released into a rap world where this
Got the crowd yelling, bring 'em out, bring 'em out. I'm a hot girl yelling, bring 'em out, bring 'em out. Don't make me act a fool, but it don't make me act a fool, but it don't make me act a fool.
was at the top. Kanye was this, this weird little nerd kid who absolutely did not fit into the mold of what hip-hop was supposed to be at the time. In fact, even a lot of his peers gave him shit for that, by the way, even at that stage. I adore Talib Kweli's verse on Get 'Em High, where he's just like,
I can't believe this nigga used my name for picking up job, but never mind, I need the track, they trying to pull tracks out.
look at this fucking wiener. You want some bars from me? Sure. Have a line where I roast your ass on your own album. Make $1 million off that, you little goofy ass, dork ass, bitch ass. Chase my dreams. I'm a genius. Goofy motherfucker. But hey, despite the roasting, Kanye absolutely changed the game when he released College Dropout. He did. And I feel so fucking dirty saying that in 2024. I hate defending this guy, people. Please don't get it twisted. I can't stand this motherfucker. Hell, I felt dirty even listening to Kanye West at all in 2024, okay? Don't worry, I made sure to listen to this thing on Spotify. That way I know the artist isn't getting any money, waka waka. I can't even take credit for that joke. That goes to my buddy Adam. Adam wrote that joke. Thank you very much, Adam. Maybe I should let other people write my material more often. My videos would probably be better. Again, in divorcing myself from everything else about this man, placing myself back in those days before Kanye changed and hip-hop changed and this whole crazy world fucking changed. It's been a crazy couple of decades, hasn't it, people? In looking at what this album was and what it helped change in music history as a whole, Look, I'm a hater, okay? I'm a huge fucking hater. But I'm not delusional. This was probably the one that should have won the trophy in the end. I hate saying it, but it's probably true. If nothing else, just look at everything else this record was going up against. Like, look at this. This, and this versus this.
That's why we hear your music and fast forward, cause we don't wanna hear that weak shit no more.
Come on, even I'm not that big of a hater. In fact, whoever did win this award over College Dropout had better be the best freaking artist to have ever.
And the Grammy goes to Maroon 5.
Okay, I gotta do it. Shenanigans! Shenanigans! I call shenanigans on this! Remember this bit from the last video?
There's some band named Karis Flowers shows up in 97. Can't say I've ever heard of them. I'm sure they'll probably amount to nothing.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't know, Karis Flowers here is literally just Maroon 5 with like one other guy on the roster. That's shenanigans, that's cheating. Although hell, let's be real here, this isn't even close to the worst case of shenanigans the Grammys has ever pulled off. But yeah, Maroon 5, I suppose it makes sense. I mean, it absolutely makes sense as a Grammy choice. Come on, the safe, non-threatening, pretty white boys with a barely noticeable rock sound and just enough pop appeal to make it marketable. That's like every band the Grammys like. But I'm a little conflicted because this was also built off of the strength of their debut, Songs About Jane. And here's the thing about that. Songs About Jane is one of the few Maroon 5 albums people still defend. Like, even to this day, there are people who will still stick up for those super early Maroon 5 records. And that's the way it was back in the day, too. It wasn't just the snobby critics and establishment folks saying that. People used to stick up for these guys. Non-ironically. Hell, go to any music blog or Reddit page or whatever you kids are looking at your music.coms, and you'll likely see a lot of folks, even some of their biggest haters, say, well, the first two records were good at least. But are they? When was the last time you actually put Songs About Jane on, Go back to that record. Tell me what you think. I actually got a little ahead of the game on this one because this album came up in our Rock Coliseum on Debut Records earlier in the year.
Maroon 5, Songs About Jane. 1, 2, 3.
I'm sorry,
I was about to, John, I was about to.
I know you weren't.
Well, it's not entirely fair because I have to compare this record to
Girls like you. Baby, I'm playing on you tonight. I'm out of pay for
all the other Maroon 5 we've gotten since then. But man, you know, this band honestly was really something interesting when they were trying. What can I say? The hooks are infectious. There's a decent amount of character and flash in the performances, and Adam Levine isn't nearly as annoying and try-hardy as he would get in later years. But I also gotta be honest, some of this is rose-colored nostalgia on my part as well. What I will say about this album is it's mostly a singles record, which is good because this thing had like 1 million fucking singles, but it is still a singles record. Pretty much all of them are bangers, but outside of the stuff you heard on the radio rotation, there's not much here to talk about. The album really falls off a cliff in the closing third. Did this ultimately deserve to win over Kanye? I wouldn't say so, and now I feel like I have to take a fucking shower. It makes sense, even if it's not the best choice, I suppose. But hang on, we aren't done yet. We still have to account for the snubs. That's right. All those artists who were overlooked, ignored, and callously perhaps even cruelly, not even considered for. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. There's nothing here. Don't worry about it, folks. Honestly, the best bands won. Okay, I guess I shouldn't say there's nothing here. There are a few other notable debuts in 2004, probably the biggest one being The Killer's Hot Fuss. That dropped in 2004, and okay, I'll say it, this is probably the album that should have been here instead of Songs About Jane. Realist talk, this thing would have cleaned up if the Grammys had actually considered it. Come on! Franz Ferdinand's debut would have also been an awesome choice here, but again, the Grammys aren't nearly cool enough for that. But I don't know, folks, as far as real potential winners here, I'm sorry, that's kind of it. Again, don't get me wrong, many fine acts that debut in 2004. I'm referring mostly to artists who had a snowball's chance of hell in actually winning the BNA. I mean, okay, as much as I love them, could any of you see Mad Villain, Alter Bridge, Senses Fail, or Sarah Bareilles winning this thing? Honestly? Be honest, come on. Look, I want to live in that alternate timeline where MF motherfucking Doom got to hold a trophy, but we don't, so we got a deal, okay? This was also the year of Gwen Stefani's debut. Courtney Love also released a solo album. Emo kept chugging along this year. Folks like the Red Jumpsuit Apparatus and Hawthorne Heights debut, as did the flotastic stylings of Hasidic Jewish rapper Matisyahu. What? I didn't stutter, you heard me. Hasidic Jewish rapper Matisyahu. No, I'm not talking about a Simpsons gag. This was a real guy. The 2000s were fucking wild, dude. This was also a weird year for supergroups as well. I already mentioned Alter Bridge, but this was also the year of the Guns N' Roses Stone Temple Pilots crossover group Velvet Revolver, not to mention Dave Grohl's crazy death metal side project Probot. Good old Dave Grohl. We can always count on him to bring a little sunshine when things are dark. I didn't even need to know this, man. Why did you tell us this? I didn't need to know about... I'm not saying it's okay or anything, but why did I... I don't need this information in my brain. I had a child outside my marriage. Sir, this is a Wendy's? Does the child need a kid's meal? In hip-hop, we have the likes of Akon, Paul Wall, and Pitbull. Wow, really? Pitbull? Man, I didn't think he'd show up this early. Although, yeah, he's not exactly Mr. Worldwide yet, is he? Who else have we got? Diplo, Ashley Simpson, Natasha Bedingfield. Oh, God! Fuck, I'm so sorry. That's gonna be in everyone's head for a month now. Nu metal was still collecting sludge with a lot of its chuddier members starting to enter the fray. Folks like Crossfade. Remember Crossfade? We also saw Big and Rich this year.
Save a horse, ride a cowboy.
Yeah, no thanks. Something out of Romania called the Cheeky Girls.
Don't be shy, touch my bum, this is life.
Romania, please explain yourself. The craziest thing about 2004 is probably how many, actors show up on this list. I don't know what was in the water in Hollywood around the late 2000s, but so many actors released these weird, out of left field albums that no one was asking for, but they absolutely flooded the market, folks. Lindsay Lohan is probably one you might remember, but she was one of those anything and everything pop stars back in the day. The hell, you may still have a copy of Speak collecting dust in an attic somewhere. Did you know that Minnie Driver also released an album this year? In fact, she's got a handful of them. She's also surprisingly solid. I was kind of surprised. If you like acoustic, country-adjacent folk, might be worth a spin to you. How about Robert Downey Jr.? Is that a name you were expecting to hear? And for someone who did as much coke in the 80s as he did, I figured his taste in music would be more exciting. You want to know what isn't dozy? Steven Seagal's album. You heard me.
You want to put on this if I make me nice. Me love the way you walk, sometimes the way you talk is so hot.
As cursed as this is, I'd still take it over Gretchen Wilson. Ugh. But Maroon 5, were they ultimately cursed by their win? Look, it's tempting to say yes, because these guys only had a handful of good albums, and then they sold out hard, fast, and ugly. Seriously, these guys just dove off that cliff once they sold out, and they never looked back. But here's the thing. As shitty as their records may have gotten, they still sold those things like hotcakes, people. If anything, they started selling more records after they pulled the trigger on their sellout phase. No matter how hard we may have complained, they kept showing up on Billboard, they kept winning awards, hell, they kept getting nominated long after this. Though they wouldn't win many more, that should probably tell you all you need to know. Hell, their momentum has only just recently, mercifully, started to die down after their last miserable record. They dropped a new single last year that was a giant snoozer. I think the Maroon 5 machine may finally, mercifully be out of gas, but given how long they kept the grift going and were still successful, I feel like history is not going to be very kind to these guys. And no one has fond memories of their post-sellout phase. I'm going to be a little mean and say kind of cursed. I don't think we can say they were fully cursed, but man, I think the only people who were fully cursed in this scenario was all of us. Finally, we hit the mid-2000s proper. 2005 does have some interesting stuff in it. As the genre landscapes continue to shift and change, nu metal, while still seeing some very notable drops, is basically on life support, while emo continues to kick into high gear and indie rock is reinventing itself with the post-punk and garage rock revivals. Meanwhile, country is getting even more chuddy as the bros continue to move in on the space. Hip-hop is in full ringtone mode, and overall things are just weird. A lot of stuff that feels like it shouldn't exist in the same space shows up around this time, but it does. I don't know. The mid-2000s get awkward. How do the Grammys react to this? Not great. Keane. Keane. I guess Keane wasn't too bad. They were part of this super weird and very short-lived fad of alternative rock bands that either didn't have a guitarist or just didn't focus on the guitars. The Fray also got a lot of hype specifically because of that. I don't know, it was this micro genre of folks where it was like, oh, it's a rock band, but they don't have a guitarist. Oh, how neat, how special. I guess folks just forgot Ben Folds 5 existed. I mean, it's not the worst thing you could listen to into this kind of squishy, radio-friendly alt-rock era. And Hopes and Fears is probably the best this band ever sounded. And I'll even go as far as to say Somewhere Only We Know was a cute little ballad, at least until every goddamn TV show and commercial was using it. That's probably why I have such a big bleh feeling towards this specific era of pop hits. Overplay was a huge issue back then, folks. Some of those goddamn Apple commercials are gonna be in my fucking head until the day I die. Look, Steve Jobs gave us a lot of cool technology, but make no mistake, that man is rotting in hell. But Keen, I don't know, they didn't end up being much more than part of this specific fad. They had their fans, they sold their concert tickets, they did fine, but they were nothing revolutionary. I don't know, who else we got? Sierra. Okay, yeah, Sierra. She was fine, I guess. Yo, I'm sorry, I don't have much to work with this year. I really don't. I do vaguely remember her. If her songs came on in the club, I generally wouldn't complain. 1-2 Step did get played a lot, and even though I feel like this track is just harder, better, faster, stronger for people that are afraid of anime, I don't know, it's whatever, it's fine, I guess. Oh, hi, Missy Elliott. See, I feel like anytime I have to, like, slag an R&B artist in one of these videos, especially during this era, I feel like I always get a ton of comments of people saying, oh, white boy doesn't understand real music. White boy shouldn't talk about our music. How dare white boy? Of course you wouldn't know. White boy doesn't know what white boy is talking about, white boy. And okay, to be fair, Hello, officer. Y'all kinda got me there, okay. But in my defense, yo, I was trying. I'll tell you this much, I was trying a lot harder than most rural Indiana lower middle class white teenagers probably were back in my day. I mean, you know, I watched BET. I would listen to the R&B and hip-hop stations. I watched hours of Comic View back in the 90s.
One plane, big old plane, 737. See, that's a big old plane. Whole right wing, just fell off the plane in mid-flight. Pow, crash. Everybody on the right side of the plane had to stick their arm out like this.
And I ain't never gonna get any of that time back. Look, I'm just saying, okay, I may not be the best person to argue for or against stuff like this, but I'm not completely ignorant of what this genre sounds like when it's at its best, okay? Sierra, look, she's fine. She was fine for what she is, she had her moments, and she was able to carry her success along. She did okay for herself, but I'm sorry, write your goddamn 40-page thesis about how Sierra changed the landscape of music. It'll help with my algorithm and my engagement. Go nuts, Buttercup. But she gives me nothing to chew on. Please give me someone who gives me something to chew on.
Dear Mom and Dad, please send money. I'm so broke that it ain't funny.
Okay, this is gonna be a little awkward for me to talk about. Being a Hoosier, specifically a Hoosier living in the Indianapolis area, even if I didn't have a bit of a bias on this one, I'd still be struggling here because I just don't have much to work with. God damn it, give me something, 2000s. I'll give a little credit to Sugarland. Country was really starting to get toxic and sour around this time. The bros weren't fully here yet, but you know, guys like Toby Keith and Big and Rich were starting to lay the foundations for them. And Sugarland, I mean, they were like generally decent, clean-cut, homey-feeling country. I don't know, considering what country would become in the next decade.
I love my country, 6 strings and fiddles and ski from.
One margarita, two margarita, three margarita shot.
Try that in a small town. See how far you make it.
These guys almost seem quaint. Though I remember back in the day, that's what folks actually really didn't like about them. The few friends I had that were still listening to country at this time, even they didn't have much nice to say about them. Most of the folks I knew said that they were just too bland to be worth caring about. Which, God, this is what folks considered offensively bland back in the day? Holy shit, I hope these folks didn't live into the cursed future where Sam Hunt and Walker Hayes are kings amongst men now. But like, I do kinda see where they're coming from on this. It was honestly these bland as paste artists that made the country audiences ask for something spicier. And we have been paying for it ever since. I give up. There's just no one this year that gives me anything to talk about, right? Who's the next artist? Probably another bland-ass country person, or another pop act no one cares about, or another R&B artist who people are going to scream at me for not understanding. Well, that was more than I bargained for. Why won't God let me die? Yes, folks. In 2005, it finally happens. Emo enters the chat. I mean, the genre had been lighting everything around it on fire since about 2002. By this point, it had become impossible to ignore. Though speaking of that, I do gotta call shenanigans on this one too. I'm sorry, I do. But what, we're just gonna pretend Take This to Your Grave didn't exist? But yeah, From Under the Cork Tree got the nod this year. And like, outside of the shenanigans, that's not a bad pick at all. Definitely a highlight of the year, and an album that really helped emo move from the underground to the mainstream. Are there better emo records that could have gone here? Absolutely. Just wait till we get to the snubs, folks. But like, come on, this is still a pretty good choice. Sugar We're Going Down, Dance Dance, Little Less 16 Candles. It's gonna be hard to beat, but it was beaten. Hopefully it was beaten by an artist who isn't boring and bland and milquetoast and Segway.
'Cause all of me loves all of you.
Okay, to be fair, this isn't the John Legend we know today. John Legend's debut, Get Lifted, it's a side of the man I feel like a lot of folks have forgotten, but listening to it again, it's honestly pretty alright. At least for what it is, it honestly has more going on than I would have expected. More than you'd think John fucking Legend would put out these days. Like, you know, there's some solid funk, some jazz, some R&B that isn't just, you know, piano-ass wedding music. I don't know, this guy used to have a little bit of life in him. There's a decent amount of pretty good stuff on this debut. Used to Love You is still a jam, as are So High, and even Ordinary People I still kinda like. I mean, if John Legend is going to show up, this is probably the best era of John Legend you could hope to put on here. I don't know, people forget John Legend started out pretty strong. Spoiler alert though, he mellowed out big time. And he was already a pretty mellow guy, so like, oh my god, the Grammys are not breaking their bad habit of picking the most safe, bland, blech possible picks, are they? Though to be fair, again, like 2004, 2005 was a much better year for established artists than debuts. But there are definitely more notable ones to pick out from here. Emo really starts to kick into high gear this year as some really big names begin showing up. Paramore's debut is one of the big ones. Though, even as a huge Paramore fan, All We Know Is Falling, I feel like even Paramore would say it probably shouldn't be here. Panic at the Disco's Amazing, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, drops in September. And look, despite the legacy of this band, Fever is still a certifiable bop. Other big notables include The Academy Is, Circa Survive, and Chiodos? I've never known how to say this. A Day to Remember, All Time Low, Parkway Drive, Cartel, and even Bullet for My Valentine arrived this year. A few surprising debuts include Volbeat. Yeah, Volbeat shows up this year. I had no idea they had been active for this long, dude. Holy shit. Same goes for Sabaton. Pendulum's debut record also drops in 2005, but like with Paramore, I feel like even they would say this probably wasn't the one to nominate. Carnival also dropped their outstanding debut record. Seriously, Carnival is one of those bands like only 5 of you have heard of. That should be more. Go look up Themata. It's... We also see Jack's Mannequin and Powerwolf. Again, Powerwolf? How has Powerwolf been around for this long? Really? This was also the year Dallas Green released his debut City in Color record, and... Look, it's a fantastic record, but if you were going through a breakup around 2005, 2006, like I was at the time, it wasn't all great for the rock side of the spectrum, though. Lest we forget, this was also the year of Hinder, Headley, and Hot Shell Ray. Okay, technically they weren't Hot Shell Ray yet, but it fit my rule of threes joke, so, hush. Yeah, around this time, post-grunge pretty much officially becomes the new butt rock. After Creed broke up, it was basically all downhill from there, folks, and you could definitely argue it was way before that. Pop definitely had some big standouts, though. LCD Sound System, MIA, Clap Your Hands, Say Yeah. Rihanna's first album shows up this year, but Mr. DJ, somebody replay. Mr. DJ, won't you turn the music up? Starting to notice a theme here, and those are 3 artists I would never have thought would have anything in common with each other. But despite some highlights, it's also a very weird year for pop overall. This is the year of the Pussycat Dolls.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here with you 6 interchangeable women.
The Fray, again, I've more than said my piece about them. Go dig up this old video if you gotta know. Rob Thomas releases his debut solo record after Matchbox 20 finally calls it quits. Nick Jonas drops his debut solo record. Wait, what?
Dear God, I hate to be a bother, but
this was a year before the Jonas Brothers show up. What the hell? We also have more weird, out-of-place celebrity records. Brie Larson drops her debut album, though this one kinda doesn't count, as Brie actually did have a moderately successful music career before she spent her time getting yelled at by chuds for being a superhero with a vagina for some reason. I am so glad that I've had sex and I don't have to be like that. Shame on you comic book guy motherfuckers. You deserve the superhero crash you're getting right now. Another big celebrity album release was... I'm sorry, I want to show you a clip, but for some reason my editing software isn't showing anyone on the screen. Seriously? Country saw the likes of Miranda Lambert, Jason Aldean, and Shooter Jennings. Hip-hop... pretty rough year for hip-hop. I guess The Game dropped his well-received debut. Young Jeezy also starts in 2005, if you're into that. Mike Shinoda's Fort Minor project also shows up this year. I guess that's something. I don't know, folks. It's hard to talk about hip-hop in this era. We're deep in the middle of the ringtone rap era, so it's a lot of... Hip-hop goes through it the next handful of years, y'all. I'm sorry. Russian singer Sergei Lazarev also shows up with... Oh my god. I think the mid-2000s officially began the moment this fucking haircut was born. That is a miracle of a mop. 10 out of 10, no notes. And of course, Mike the Snare would never forgive me if I didn't mention... Why his dick out? For real, why his dick out? Y'all let this thing have a music career with his dick hanging out the whole time. Any career I've had where I did that, I got in trouble for it. Fuck y'all. But John Legend, yeah. How we feeling about that curse? Yeah. Here's the thing. I can definitely hear arguments for a curse here because, like, yeah, he did start out as creative and kind of interesting. Again, listening to some of that earlier John Legend reminds me that, yeah, there was a very compelling artist buried in there. We often forget about this era of John Legend's career, but that is because...
All of me loves all of you.
Yeah, as soon as Legend started seeing that wedding venue wine mom money, like Maroon 5, he pivoted hard to that sellout crowd, man. Though it's not even like I can blame the guy. Look, that crowd buys the hell out of your records if you're an artist they like. Whatever you think of Legend's post-2013 career, look, y'all, I'm sorry, but those records sell to those moms who are looking for safe, tame piano ballads to put on while the jackrabbit is doing its magic. I admit it's kind of sad to see him like this now. Again, before Legend was catering to that kind of crowd, he was pulling out some interesting stuff. Hell, his album prior to the big sellout was a collaboration with The Roots. And then All of Me happened, and he starts releasing the Christmas albums and shit. God, that's another weird pattern I've been seeing in pop artists especially. It always spells the end of your career once the Christmas album comes out. That's just like the final nail in the coffin. That's just the, I give up, I don't have to try anymore. Fa la 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 la, give me my fucking money. To Legend's credit though, I actually dug up his last few records, and those feel like they were attempts to shake up the formula a bit. They're generally okay. It's nice that he's out here trying. I don't know, I don't want to be too mean to the guy. A lot of the folks who reach the top of Wine Mom Mountain basically coast on the Chardonnay for the rest of their careers. So like, I don't know, y'all. He's got the success, he's got the sales. He did kind of have to sell his soul to get it, but he didn't sell it exactly to the extent Maroon 5 did. I'll say he's towing that line, but I don't know. I still feel like he's talented. I still feel like he's trying, and he hasn't gone nutso or even made anything that's that offensive. I don't know, even the shitty music, it's just bland. I can live with bland, and you know sure as hell John Legend can live with bland. So like, I'll be nice. You say he's not cursed. Again, given what this guy makes between touring and album sales, look, he's doing just fine. I don't know, more power to him. Get your bag, man. Get those sales. I hope you're at least getting a cut of that jackrabbit money. That's probably good money. Okay, 2006. You know, I have technically already done a video about this here. Can we skip this one? Yeah? I spent an hour and 20 minutes talking about this here. I don't get a buy on this? No? Bullshit.
My life is brilliant. My love is pure.
Are you sure I don't get a buy on this? Oh man, really? Oh, James Blunt. Like, he's one of those guys I hate to even clown on, because we've all been clowning on James Blunt for close to 20 years at this point. It's like clowning on Nickelback or Limp Bizkit or something like. It's too easy of a target, okay? Oh, James Blunt sucks. Yeah, and Oxygen is breathable, Water is wet, and Crash Thompson takes too long to release videos. Obvious thing is obvious, but like, oh man, here's the thing. Listening to this record again, actually sitting down with the damn thing.
By now I'm home. Those three wise men, they've got a Sammy by the sea. I know you well, I know your smell. I've been addicted to you. Houses burnt beyond repair. The smell of death is in the air.
It's pretty bad, y'all. It's worse than you probably remember it. It's basically the epitome of the faux sensitive douchebag. The guy who brought an acoustic guitar to the party and...
It's gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should somehow realize what you got.
I'm sorry, but his music, at least on this record, is just the death of good vibes. The storm that started with Jack Johnson and John Mayer has officially transformed into a full hurricane, and it's time to evacuate the premises. The idiot who thinks he's clever lyrics, the uncreative, bland as hell arrangements, that...
Flying high, those three wise men.
Weird wispy falsetto thing he does that way too goddamn often on this album. Seriously, I thought my smoke alarm was busted. I'm trying not to be overly mean about this. I mean, I'm too old to be getting grumpy about stupid shit like this. I really am. But sitting through 40 minutes of this...
Oh, hollow, baby. I'm so hollow. I'm so...
God help me. It's causing me to go back to the old me. You know what I mean? It's channeling that old school ass YouTuber in me. You know, the loud, screamy, reactionary. Oh my God! It's cranking up the diarrhea dial. It's shitting the fuck out of my ass. If I have to talk about this album anymore, I'm gonna have to break out the button-up shirt and the pocket protector. Just a shitload of fuck of a record, okay? I'm gonna button my lip before I go over the edge or before James Blunt roasts me on Twitter. Oh shit, looks like he already got to me. Well, joke's on you, I'm not even on Twitter anymore anyway. Fuck you, Elon. Grammys, please give me something better than this.
Meet up. On second thought, that ain't the way to go.
Do y'all see why this video took so long? I can't even catch one break. One break? I can't have one break. I gotta talk about Chris Brown now? Fuck off. Again, to be as fair as I possibly can be, this debut came out way before the thing we all know Chris Brown for these days. That being a woman-beating piece of shit, by the way. Fuck him. This was way before any of that. Chris Brown was, just another pretty face in the R&B scene, and, you know, like I haven't pissed off Chris Brown fans enough. Not that I care what any of them think, but even listening back to this, I don't have a lot of nice things to say. Like, you look at stuff like this, and it's just... I'm sorry, this is what you get when you order Michael Jackson from Temu. See, even before all the fucked up stuff came out about him, I just never really fucked with this guy because, like... dude, we have Michael Jackson at home. Okay, Michael Jackson was far from perfect, especially at this stage in his life, but come on, he's still way, way, way better than this twerp ever was, even before we learned exactly what kind of twerp he was. I don't know, man. Honestly, he reminds me of, like, pre-Thriller Michael Jackson, like off-the-wall era Michael Jackson, only the music isn't nearly as well arranged, the vocals aren't nearly as fine-tuned, even his dancing is just like... Maybe it was more impressive at the time, but these days, 6th place on America's Got Talent at best. I mean, sure, for R&B, you could do worse than Chris Brown in this era. But even then, like, no, pass. I'm sorry, pass. 2 more. 2 more to go. Come on, Grammys. Can you give me something that isn't torture? Please, give me something that doesn't hurt.
Go put your records on.
Thank God. Oh my fuck. Thank you. Thank you, Grammys. Fucking hell, it took you long enough. Yeah, Corinne Bailey Rae. There's someone I used to fuck with, man. Neo-soul singer and songwriter, she had a huge hit with Put Your Records On, had a really good 2006, and then... yeah, she just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet, didn't she? Which is a shame, because she was honestly pretty decent, y'all. I'm not entirely sure what happened here either. She had a great look, a lot of talent and charisma, and people were, at least initially, excited about her. I don't know, there's a number of factors that could have gone into this. She tended to be a little pokey with her releases. There was also definitely a bit of record label chicanery going on there too. I don't know, any number of things probably threw the spoke in her wheelhouse, but I don't know, regardless, she did still keep releasing music, and I poked through it again. Most of it's pretty good. She even released an album last year that was still fairly solid. I mean, okay, is she the absolute best choice for this award? Even though I fuck with her, I'd probably have to say no, but come on, much worse folks have walked away with that trophy. I don't know, who else have we got here?
Spin me around again.
Oh, really? Oh, this one upsets me, but not because she was nominated. Because she's the one who probably should have won, y'all. Oh my God. Look, I don't care whose name is on that trophy coming up. Speak for Yourself was, and still honestly is, an amazing, groundbreaking record for pop music. Though, if we're being 100% honest, I can hit the shenanigans button for this one too. I can. Shenanigans! I mean, nobody remembers iMegaphone, but like, you should. That's also a pretty good record. For what it is, it's fantastic. Look, if you're a Tori Amos or a Fiona Apple girly, you owe it to yourself to dig up iMegaphone. That is a pleasant afternoon for you. You're welcome. Speak for Yourself, though, people. God. Well, okay, literal decades of memery at this point have unfairly hurt this album a bit, but the album as a whole, God, it's still fantastic. Full of lush melodies, brilliant construction, and some incredible vocal performances. Seriously, she was just breaking the mold of what a pop star could get away with. To me, this thing is a masterpiece of the era, through and through. Should absolutely be one of the nominees, but if I'm being honest, this is my pick for winner. Again, maybe that's controversial, but I'm sticking to it. I don't care whose name is on that trophy. I promise you, they aren't going to be as...
Jesus, take the wheel, take it from my hand.
When am I ever going to learn to shut my big fat mouth? Well, okay, in my own personal opinion at least, I'm still fucking right about this. Imogen Heap I take 99 times out of 100, especially over Carrie Underwood. But, oh, Carrie Underwood is also Carrie Underwood. You know, it's hard to deny that. She's probably the biggest success story American Idol would ever see. You could argue Kelly Clarkson, sure, but if we're talking about sheer musical success, y'all, look, I looked up the numbers. Carrie won this one by a mile. She dazzled folks with her husky, twangy alto and carried her American Idol Season 4 win into a very long and very, very decorated country career. Especially for a country artist, she has done really well for herself. Every single record she's ever put out has hit the top 10. Even her most recent release that came out in 2022. Shut Up, it came in at number 10, it still counts. And while her singles may waver around a bit on the top 100, in country, she's basically become an institution. Kelly has her talk show gig, sure, but in terms of like ticket sales, I feel like Carrie is definitely edging her out of there. Man, those country crowds, once you got them, it's hard to lose them, isn't it? So yeah, while Carrie may not be a personal favorite, I still think Imogen Heap got absolutely robbed. She found her audience, and to this day, they're pretty ride or die. Regardless of what I think, she feels like an appropriate choice for this particular year. But is she? Remember, this is 2006. This was a damn good year for music. Who else is out there? Again, for such a good year, you'd think we'd be swimming in potential candidates. And again, we're not without a little flash here, but again, the mid-2000s, y'all, they were much better for established acts. Not so much for the new crop. A few big notable names show up, sure. Eric Church, Bring Me the Horizon, Arctic Monkeys, Gnarls Barkley shows up this year. I'm amazed they weren't nominated, honestly. We don't talk much about Gnarls Barkley these days. For good reason, mind, but still, Saint Elsewhere was everywhere that year. That was the hit record. I'm amazed it got overlooked. A few other interesting drops include The Devil Wears Prada, Fergie's solo record, if you're into that, Wiz Khalifa, The Raconteurs, another one I'm shocked isn't on this list, Pharrell, Escape the Fate. Oh, that's right, Escape the Fate is this year. So we have this year to thank for Blast the Wild Bird! Yeah, thanks for that. I'd say there's a few sleeper hits out there too. Might have been nice to see them here. Folks like Mariana's Trench, Blackstone Cherry, Plus 44, and especially Hurt. Oh my god, I personally love Hurt. I've talked about them in the past. Yeah, they're melodramatic and over the top, but like, okay, no joke, from the classic era of the genre at least, I consider Hurt to be nu metal's swan song. They are the last great nu metal band. The genre basically peaked here and never got good again. At least until all you little Gen Z ankle biters started bringing it back, ironically enough. But if I'm being honest, there's way more than good on this list. Not even the worst kind of stuff, just like Like this is the year of Daughtry. Remember Daughtry? DJ Khaled also got his start this year. If you want to consider what he does a music career, folks like Neo, Boys Like Girls, Red, Paolo Nutini. I'm sure these folks have their fans, but I don't know, 2024 at least, it's hard to get excited about any of it. The really bad stuff, though, is full of surprises. Would you believe this was the year that Flava Flav released his first solo record? Yeah, this late in the game. I was surprised by that too. You'd think him being a part of Public Enemy for so many years, he would have broke out on his own sooner. You'd also think him being a part of Public Enemy for all those years would have taught him how to rap. Paris Hilton released her first record this year. God, it's weird to think Paris Hilton has had a music career for nearly 2 decades now. Taylor Hicks, winner of that year's American Idol, also released his debut to a lot of general apathy. Brooke Hogan also released her. I don't want to call this an album as much as the finale to a bad series of reality shows.
You Hulkamaniacs, it's me, the Hulk. Check out my new look.
God, this shit is almost as embarrassing as the sex tape, brother. One of my musical arch nemesis shows up this year in Family Force 5. You know, the first Family Force 5 album is such a beautiful example of what mid-2000s music sounded like when it was pissing in an open wound awful. Like, that is just the perfect example of what this era sounded like when it sucked. There's a sick part of me that wants to actually recommend this album to you. Are you nostalgic about all that cool 2000s music that's starting to come back into vogue? Oh yeah, this stuff's becoming retro again. Yeah, remember when this was cool? Oh, all this new metal and all this emo is awesome. Go ahead, put that first Family Force 5 record on. Put it in your retro CD player that you own ironically. Do it. I dare you. I don't know, y'all. It was just kind of a year for new artists. Thankfully, there was at least one great, one titan of metal, one god amongst men who could carry the entire year that year.
I shed the blood of the Saxon men. I shed the blood.
God bless you, Christopher Lee, and your important work. But back to Carrie Underwood. Was she affected by the curse? Look, whatever you think of her music, the numbers don't lie here. 6 platinum-selling records, 16 more Grammy nominations, including 8 more wins, 9 CMAs, 16 AMCs, yeah, those are separate awards, 25 CMT awards, billions in album and ticket sales. Even the Christmas record couldn't kill this woman's career. She released a Christmas album that went gold. On top of all of that, she saw this kind of success after getting her start on American Idol. See, that's what clinches this one for me. Carrie Underwood not only beat the curse of the Best New Artist, she beat the curse of the American Idol win on top of it. She's a dual curse beater. Hell, like I already mentioned, that current season's winner basically got a big heaping helping of "Who the hell are you?" from general audiences. Almost no one else has been able to spend their time on the show into a viable career. Just look at folks like Lane Hardy, Trent Hammond, or Phil Phillips. And just to prove my point, and to get reactionaries to pause and leave stupid comments before watching the entire video, again, thanks for the algorithm boost, I didn't put up the correct photos for those guys. Did you know who was who from that lineup? Are those even real people? Did I make them up? I mean, sure, American Idol helped Carrie get her foot in the door. But once she was in the room, she did a great job of taking control of the whole party. Carrie didn't need American Idol, and only recently has the momentum for her career started to die down. And if I'm being honest, that's probably just more to a general dying down of the industry as a whole more than anything else. So, yeah, no, not cursed. If American Idol can't even curse you, no one can. My girl Imogen Heap still got done dirty. Look, dig up Speak for Yourself. That album is so much more than the memes, goddammit. And now we're up to 2007. God, this naming structure. I'm so stupid for doing it like this. This year, folks, look, it's already been a tough couple of years, but this one in particular, woof. Not that there isn't good stuff here, but the drop-off from the year previous is gonna be pretty fierce. Partially because a lot of genres are either dying out or starting to find themselves on death's door. By this point, nu metal is on its last breath. Emo has gone completely mainstream and it's starting to get a taste of the rot. Hip-hop is still struggling to get out of the ringtone era, and I don't know, music in general. This is what you'd call a very transitional year. Not just for music, for like most of us in general. The iPhone debuts, changes the way we listen to music in general. Twitter and Facebook go public, and social media becomes a mainstream factor in all of our lives. Thank God for that. And that's not even mentioning the biggest elephant in this room.
The signs were everywhere, but now it's official, we are in a recession.
If you are watching us from the last home you'll ever own tonight, consider yourself lucky.
Fun. I know it was a transitional year for me personally. It was the year I graduated college and started putting this here English degree to work. Penis. I got paid to say that. My professors would be so proud.
In the rain, it makes me sad and it's alright.
Oh man, another one of these. God damn it. Another R&B artist I know almost nothing about. In fact, I know so little about this artist, I'm not even sure how I'm supposed to say her name. Ladisi.
Please welcome my friend Ledisi.
I'm at the J Hudge. Hi!
God, the stupid white boy comments are gonna be just vicious on this one, aren't they? I mean, I deserve it, sure, but I ain't looking forward to it. But hey, I spun the record, I perused her catalog a little bit. I will say, I get the appeal. She's very traditional R&B. Like, this is extremely old school. This is music made for smoky lounges and intimate encounters between middle-aged adults. But it is very good for what it is. She's got an absolutely golden singing voice. I mean, especially since the Grammys tend to lean older, I see why they gravitate towards this. And she's seen a decent amount of success in the R&B genre. Though, again, that's about it, and that's about all I really see her appealing to. You know what I mean? She's fine, but she is very, very niche. And that shows with her general success, too. She's never had anything chart outside of the R&B charts. She would win a Grammy eventually, but again, for Best Traditional R&B Performance. You know, Best New Artist, nah, she's fine, but like, nah. In fact, if you look at the awards section on her Wikipedia entry, it's, oh man, look at all those nominations. Look at all that red. That's kind of heartbreaking. Always a nominee, never a winner. Who else we got?
1, 2, 3, 4, tell me that you love me more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see what I mean? It's gonna be hard for, however you say it, to beat Feist, okay? Remember Feist? God, she was great. Honestly, I shouldn't even say that. She's still going, and she's still putting out pretty damn good music. But man, The Reminder, back in the day, that blew up super big. Again, mostly due to... Again, this is the era where Steve goddamn Jobs really starts fucking with the trajectory of modern music history. But Feist was absolutely an instance of the better. Though, if I really wanted to, I could push the shenanigans button for this one too. This isn't Feist's first record. Hell, this isn't even her first Best New Artist nomination, believe it or not. She actually won Best New Artist before she showed up here at the Junos. But yeah, regardless, Feist was great. Feist is still pretty great. And if anything, yeah, she's probably too cool to be on this list. I honestly didn't expect to see her here. That was a pleasant surprise, but, you know, even then, she's probably still not the best choice. She only released 3 other albums since then. She never got quite as big as this moment again. And unless you count the split she did with Mastodon... Wait, what? Again, you see what I mean, right? Way too cool to be on this list. Come on. Who else have we got here? Okay, holy God. Yeah, you see what I mean? For such an year overall, the competition is absolutely ferocious as hell. Though for this one, yeah, I'm absolutely hitting the button. Come on, shenanigans! 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 But yeah, after this and Fall Out Boy, I think we can finally get away with saying it's not just a phase, Mom. Emo is here to stay, at least for a little bit. And Paramore during this period, whew, like peak nostalgia, dude. In both the best and unfortunately the worst ways. Look, I'm just saying, I get why Haley has trouble coming back to some of these songs. But hey, Riot is an amazing record, especially for such an early record from such a young band. These guys were basically teenagers when this came out, and they not only made one of the definitive albums of the genre, but of like several genres over the next handful of decades. The number of artists influenced by Paramore at this point is crazy. This actually shows a weird amount of common sense from the Grammys and some outright sincere recognition of what's going on in popular music. I don't know, this year is weird. This is way more in touch than I expect the Grammys to be. I'm very surprised. Who else do we have here?
Here's a reason for the teardrops on my guitar.
Fuck, I have to talk about Kanye, Chris Brown, and Taylor Swift in the same goddamn thing. My comment section is going to explode. But y'all, no, I'm not shocked to see Taylor here, even though this isn't exactly many folks' favorite Taylor album. Hell, this record is so forgotten, it didn't even get the Taylor's version treatment a few years back. You figured that'd be the place you'd want to start. I know it's still probably coming. Please don't kill me, Stans. It's just a fucking joke. Do you know what a fucking joke is? Which means if I were to speak less than charitably about this record, it means I'm not gonna get death threats, right? Oh man, that's not even my address. Whoever y'all just doxed is going to be very upset. But yeah, even though the self-titled record is, well, I'm hesitant to call it a black sheep of Taylor's discography, given that Reputation is right there. But also because, Confession Time? I actually kinda like this record. Kinda. See, this is the Taylor I don't think we ever truly saw again. The aw shucks Taylor, the pure country Taylor. Teardrops on my guitar ass, should have said no ass, Tim McGraw ass Taylor. I should probably think of a better way to phrase that. This makes it sound like Taylor is Tim McGraw's ass. This album is, you know, sweet and cute and simple. It's weirdly quaint in retrospect. You listen to these cute little songs about boys and heartbreak and being young and dumb and confused. Hell, if you really want to twist it, this thing is just Riot without all the emo guitars. Damn it, I knew that was gonna get me in trouble. Okay, that is my address. I don't know, you listen to this quaint little country album from this, you know, little teenage girl, and you are just shocked that it's this girl that's going to be the biggest, most notable, most important celebrity of our time. God, we live in the strangest timeline, don't we? Go tell 2008 me that the Teardrops on My Guitar girl rules the world right now. But yeah, y'all, do you see what I mean here? The competition this year is just crazy. So many talented gals who could have easily clinched this. Easily. I mean, we've got Feist, Taylor, and Haley. Whoever actually won this damn award was gonna have to be somebody amazing. Who the hell stole this award from Feist, Taylor, Haley, and I guess the other girl, but like, yo.
And the Grammy goes to Amy Winehouse.
Okay, yeah, I get it. This is what it was gonna take to beat Taylor Swift. Literal legend Amy Winehouse. And make no mistake, Amy Winehouse was the hottest thing in 2006, 2007. God, y'all don't understand how big of a deal Back to Black was if you weren't there living through it. I also hate to do this again. God, the gimmick is really starting to run dry, isn't it? But shenanigans, it is technically shenanigans. I know nobody remembers Frank these days, but still. But yeah, Amy Winehouse. She was set to be the next giant pop diva, the next Madonna, the next Mariah. She was the it girl. And y'all, she honestly deserved it too. Back to Black, it is a fantastic record. Her blue-eyed neo-soul was set to redefine the pop genre. She was something fresh and new and gritty and raw. Pop at this stage was kind of recovering from a case of the squeaky cleans. The house built by Britney and Christina was getting abandoned for something more adult, edgy, and, okay, huge air quotes around this, authentic. I don't, even most of the teen divas had moved on from their, kitty bop aesthetic by this point. It was time to grow up, and Amy was set to be one of the torchbearers of the new grown-up sound. Her smoky, unmistakable voice and absolutely heart-rending performances took audiences by storm. I mean, if you gotta give it to anyone this year, it's probably gonna be her. I feel like even Taylor and Haley would step aside for Amy in this case. If only because she'd probably glass them if they didn't. But as always, we gotta dig deeper. Was there anyone else who could have possibly clinched this? To put it bluntly, no. To put it accurately, hell no. Holy shit. Y'all, I warned you, this year was gonna be kinda rough. Hell, the last few years weren't great for new artists, but this year, fuck, it was hardly great for anybody. Who are the notables we got this year? I don't know, y'all. Luke Bryan, he shows up. Sean Kingston, if you're still into him, I guess. Calvin Harris. Honestly, the biggest notable snub here is probably Miley Cyrus, but we're not talking about this Miley, we're talking about... It's so weird thinking about the kind of cultural influence Hannah fucking Montana had.
Sacrifice, 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 sacrifice!
I have no idea what I'm looking at. But in terms of people who actually could have contended for this award, slim fucking pickings, y'all. I'm telling you, it's pretty dire. There's some good genre stuff out there, I'll give it that. The first Dance Gavin Dance record, the first Suicide Silence record, the first Frank Turner record, and my personal favorite this year, the first Death Clock record. God, I want to live in the world where Death Clock won a Grammy. But y'all, most of the folks that show up this year, most of the list in general, the thing is, you're going to get the vibe as soon as I start rattling people off, okay? We have One Republic. We have Bless the Fall. We have Soulja Boy. 303. Five Finger Death Punch. Yay! Shit overall just got really dumb. Like, music got so fucking dumb this year. Even the stuff that's okay is just really dumb. Stuff like 1OK Rock, Flowbots, and 6 AM. Again, not all of that stuff is bad, but just very dumb. There's a lot of dumb here, y'all. There are some hidden gems, though. Eddie Vedder's solo soundtrack to Into the Wild shows up. That one is really overlooked. Very good record if you feel like digging deep. Serj Tankian also releases his outstanding solo debut not long after the end of System of a Down. Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries releases a solo record. Again, there's some good stuff to be had here, sure. But most of it, Colby Calais, remember her? Hillsong United. Any Christian kids out there get subjected to all their shit? Yep, their official debut starts this year. Immure debut this year and helped give birth to that trashcore shit that would haunt the early years of this channel. God, I'm so glad y'all are over that shit. All y'all going through your nostalgia waves right now, please do not bring back that shit. I just realized even my show at this point is so old it's starting to turn around and become nostalgic. I'm fucking melting. I'm sorry, but this year is such a nothing burger. This year is such a nothing burger. Damon Albarn started another supergroup this year. He did. I promise you, he did. It's a supergroup project with Paul Simonon from The Clash, Simon Tong from The Verb, and legendary Afrobeat drummer Tony fucking Allen. Yes, this was a real supergroup that came out. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody remembers this was a thing. Do you remember that this was a thing? What were they called? Pop quiz. What was their name? I promise this is a real thing. I promise I'm not making it up. 3, 2, 1. If you remember that name without Googling it, you're a special and unique person, and I'm happy for you. But you see what I mean? Absolutely nobody was taking this from Amy. But back to the topic at hand, Amy Winehouse. Was she affected by that? Yes. Very yes. Extremely yes. People outside of maybe Milli Vanilli or Lauryn Hill, this may be one of the more cursed wins we've encountered so far. But Amy Winehouse, she was tumultuous from the very beginning. She struggled with substance abuse for pretty much her entire public-facing career. She had her ups and downs, and the music was very, excuse my language, frank about her struggles. But again, that was what was appealing about her. It was real. It felt earnest. Amy was a mess, but she owned it, and she spoke honestly about it. But as her career went on, it all got a little too real. And her Grammy win absolutely contributed to her downward spiral. I'm almost positive we can confirm that. After her Grammy wins, she blew up big time in the States as well as Europe, and after that, she just kept spiraling and spiraling out, eventually leading to her all-too-sudden death in 2011. Yet another member of the 27 Club. She never released any more music after Back to Black, and she did try to keep her live shows going, but the tabloid coverage she constantly got, which absolutely helped contribute to her death, it made the constant noise around her just too much to handle. She had a brief but very beautiful body of work that's worthy of praise and respect. But yeah, especially since her Grammy win very, very likely helped directly pour gasoline on her raging fire. Oh man, what a tragedy, man. Can we just get to the last year and start wrapping things up? I need a fucking nap. 2000, I'm just gonna say it, y'all. I'm tired. I am so running out of steam. I have had to talk about some of the grisliest, gnarliest, craziest shit yet. And the sad part is, I'm not even close to done. But also, like, man, the 2000s, this half of the list especially, has been so hard to write. Because, no joke, one of the reasons this video took so long, outside of my personal life just being crazy, so much of what made this video hard was writer's block. You know why? Because holy shit, there is so little to talk about when it comes to this side of the decade, and a lot of the stuff you could talk about,
I like Hitler.
I don't want to fucking talk about. But make no mistake, the latter half of the 2000s, when looking at it as a whole at least, God, it's boring. It's so boring. So much of the stuff that got big is just dreadfully dull. As someone who's lived through other decades, oh my God, especially this year, we have hit peak boring for the end of the 2000s, and like, I lived through the early 2010s. I know shit doesn't get better. I'm sorry, but after this, I have to tap out. We're probably not going to do another episode in this series for a long time, and even then, I don't know, we're doing the 80s or the 70s. I'll do the fucking 60s before I go into 2010. I refuse to do the 2010s. On principle. No. Absolutely fucking no. I'm sorry. I did my best. But I want out. God damn it, do you hear me? I want out! I want out! The Jonas Brothers. I'm sorry, I always hated the Jonas Brothers, but like, I was 23 in 2008. Of course I hated the Jonas Brothers. I absolutely wasn't the demographic, but man, remember all that stuff I said back in the Amy Winehouse segment about pop music growing up and becoming more mature? Okay, you got me. At least some of that was bullshit. Because, yeah, that was true of the pop scene, but there was also a new breed of teeny boppers who were basically trying to reapproach what the boy bands and teen divas were doing. But instead of being, like, teen and young adult adjacent, they were just, like, literally kids. The goddamn Disney Channel shat out so many of these fucking acts. Okay, some of them turned out to be good. I won't fucking fault you there, but oh my God, if you lived through it and you weren't like 6, ugh. I mean, of course I wasn't into stuff like this. I'm not on a goddamn registry. Even despite all of that, the raw music behind acts like this always chafed me up. Music that's aimed at younger audiences doesn't have to suck this much. I promise you it doesn't. Listening to this Jonas Brothers record again, and especially watching all the old music videos, as weird as this is gonna sound, it served as a grim reminder of where pop punk was at this time. And okay, yeah, I get it. Comparing the Jonas Brothers to pop punk is a stretch. I acknowledge that, okay? Just hear me out. I mean, is it nursery school shit? Yes, but like, the guitars are loud, at least as loud as the Disney Channel will allow, and they are out here posing as a band, and you know, you see them actually playing their guitars and kicking around in their music video. They're trying to act like rock stars, you know, not just eye candy for your baby sister. An attempt was made, is all I'm saying here. But the pop punk scene was still around in this time too, and it wasn't quite as dire as nu metal, but wow, things were starting to get kinda ugly. Blink-182 had broken up, Sum 41 had released their worst record to date. Green Day, well, they were still riding high, but the tide was about to turn for them. And like nothing else the old guard really released that particular year was making significant waves. I mean, there are hidden gems in there, but not a lot of this made an impact, and it kind of opened the doors for stuff like the Jonas Brothers to influence the kids, where, you know, Blink-182 or Sum 41 couldn't. And like, again, I know it's not for me. I'm not the guy who should be talking about this kind of thing. But in my defense, I don't see how anyone over 14 listens to music like this and doesn't just immediately burst into flames. Like, even if this was your jam as a kid, have you listened to it lately?
It's a call I'll never get.
Are you sure it's not just nostalgia, buddy? I'm sorry, I hate to be a hater. You know, I'll admit the Jonas Brothers did get better once they got out of this phase. I'll even give you that much, but can you please get this away from me? I am absolutely dying. Grammys, can you please just cut me a break and, like, toss me a softball here?
Oh, 'cause love don't live here.
I said a softball, god damn it! Well, okay, on the surface at least, this is a softball. Lady A, I should say. Back in the day, they were like, fine. I mean, I thought they were like generally okay. Again, I wasn't listening to a ton of country around this time, but I remember them vaguely. I didn't hate what Lady A was out here doing, necessarily, which was basically just like,
I'm just looking for a good time.
Soft rock disguised as country? That's not even fair. It's not like soft rock. It reminds me more of like a dad rock band that happens to have fiddles and slide guitars in it, so, we can play this on country stations, we can probably get away with this. Again, they're one of those groups I would have certainly taken over a lot of the proto bros and the doofus country of the time. Here's the thing, musically, just sonically at least, they're inoffensive. They're a very take 'em or leave 'em kind of band. I don't have much feelings one way or the other about the music. But, if you remember anything about this band in recent history, it's, their name and all of that, controversy, yeah. And the goofiest part of all that, too, is that apparently they didn't even have a good reason to call themselves that. They couldn't think of a name, and they just didn't do their research, and it's like a band calling themselves South African Apartheid, but not for anything ominous, just because, like, it's a vibe, man. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it. Listen, people, speaking as a YouTuber who has been severely burned by this in the past, always do the research. Jesus, do you see what I mean about this goddamn video? Even the boring, basic bitch milquetoast acts are all cursed in some fucking way. I can't catch a break. Which brings me to our next topic. This is Duffy. Remember Duffy? No offense, but I wouldn't necessarily blame you if you didn't. She was another blue-eyed soul singer when those were really starting to explode at the time. You know, Joss Stone, Amy Winehouse. The floodgates were open. We saw a lot of gals like this back then. She was another one of those. She was generally okay. Her debut, Rock Fairy, was extremely hot at the time, and the lead single, Mercy, was also lighting up the charts pretty much everywhere it could. I will say Duffy was more of a big deal in Europe than over here. Even with the Grammy nod, it wasn't impossible to have missed out on her if you're from this side of the Atlantic. I don't know, like, she was okay, she had her moments, but she didn't necessarily have a very long career. She released Rock Fairy, one more album after that, and then we basically never heard from her again. Which even still was very odd. She dropped out of the music industry very suddenly. She wasn't an ultra star or anything, but I feel like she had the momentum to potentially keep going. She had her fans. Her voice was little nasally and mousy, if I'm being honest. But again, she had her audience. There were people who really, really liked this girl. But her career didn't last long. So what happened there? Did her label screw her over? Did she just get overshadowed by all the other divas entering this genre? If only. content warning for sexual assault, sexual violence, and human trafficking. No, I am not kidding. Here is a timestamp. If any of you are squeamish about any of these particular topics, I highly suggest using it. This gets ugly. Duffy didn't really like fame once she had acquired it, and after her second album flopped, and a weirdly maligned Diet Coke commercial came out in the UK. You see what I mean about the mousy voice, right? But after those, she basically fell off the face of the earth for a while. In 2011, she announced her retirement from music altogether. And outside of an occasional appearance here or there, she was basically gone. So much so that people apparently had trouble keeping track of her. She just like noped out of everyone's lives. Her agent, her publicist, even her stylist didn't know what the hell happened to her. She just disappeared. And then things got really ugly. Here's that timestamp again, just in case you need it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Sometime between her last commercial release in 2015 and the pandemic in 2020, Duffy was celebrating her birthday with some friends at a restaurant when someone spiked her drink. Whoever did this then proceeded to abduct Duffy, take her to her apartment, steal her passport, money, and identification, and then force her to board a plane. Duffy then woke up in a completely different country. She didn't even realize what country she was in. No one spoke English, and none of the signs were in a language she could understand. She just woke up in a completely foreign land. For the next several weeks, her kidnapper basically kept her manipulated with drugs, forced himself upon her several times, and threatened to kill her if she should try to run or act out of line. This apparently went on for several weeks. And it didn't end there. After a period of time, which even Duffy doesn't remember, again, she was being drugged up for God knows how long, the kidnapper then flew her back to the UK and held her hostage in her own flat for several more weeks on end. Again, controlling her with drugs, threats, and the sexual violence kept continuing. I told y'all this gets dark, I'm sorry. Until one day Duffy, just out of desperation, fled out of her apartment onto the street. When she did make her escape attempt, that finally persuaded her kidnapper to flee, never coming back and never being caught. Duffy never reported this to the police, and the accoster, as far as we know, is still out there to this day. So yeah, that's probably why you haven't heard about Duffy. Well, thankfully, Duffy has been recovering from all the trauma, and she was brave enough to share her story in 2020 with the world, and she's doing much better these days. Thank God. I'm glad she got over that, you know? Fuck all this goofy waka waka shit, you know? I'm glad she's okay. Do you see why this video was so hard to run? Some things are more important than stupid, goofy YouTube bullshit, okay? I'm just glad she's alright. Can we please move on to the last person? Pretty please?
What's up, everybody? Hey!
Okay, Jasmine Sullivan. Alright, okay, cool. If you're into R&B, chances are you might be a fan of her. In fact, she released a pretty damn solid EP called Hotels back in 2021. I discovered this record through my research on this video, and...
Bitch, do you know what Google says? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I also know what that dick said.
I absolutely adore this thing. God, Hotels is the light at the end of the tunnel for this fucking video. Again, she's another one of those R&B artists I wasn't terribly familiar with, and again, I dreaded that because it was like, oh, it's gonna be a great big nothing burger, and everyone's gonna give me shit about not loving it to tears. But, well, y'all, here's the thing. I really, really like Jasmine Sullivan. I'm glad I got to discover her through this. Seriously, she's pretty damn good. Gallons of charisma, very interesting and bold presentation with her music. It started with the debut, but I don't know, I ended up liking her so much I made my way through her whole discography. And like, yeah, no joke, she's really good. Hotels also won a bunch of awards the year it came out, including the Grammys. Hey, there you go. So yeah, she didn't win on her first go-around, but, you know, the Academy came around to her eventually, and, like, I'm glad she did. She is great. You know what? Look her up. There's a diamond in the rough. I don't know, again, if you're not into R&B. I don't know, if you are, you probably already know this gal, and I'm just out of touch and dorky and terrible. I know this. But I'm glad she showed up here, and I'm glad I got to discover her through this. Should she have won? I don't know, tough call, I guess. Now that I'm actually familiar with her work, I don't know. For Hotels, absolutely, that thing is...
That dick spoke life into me.
The voice of a generation. But, I don't know, let's see who ended up winning. Oh, snap. Okay, no offense to Miss Sullivan, but she didn't have a chance. Boy, Amy Winehouse's influence really left a huge mark on the end of this decade, didn't it? Adele. You know, I talk about artists your mom likes or whatever. Adele kind of became the queen of all those artists, isn't she? But hey, not without good reason. Adele is pretty good. Even I like Adele. I mean, hey, Adele has always had a crazy powerful voice and a very strong stage presence. She knocked Europe out with her debut, which is weird to think about because her debut was still a big deal over here. Like, she was definitely on the radio. You did hear her around, but she wasn't dominating the airwaves like she does today. I keep forgetting Adele's debut isn't 21. It's 19. I don't know, I kind of forget this record exists, but listening to it again, yeah, it's pretty solid. I get it. I get why people dug this. A lot of Americans probably weren't paying super close attention to Adele until Rolling in the Deep happened and made it impossible to not pay attention. Her debut is no slouch either. Chasing Pavements, Cold Shoulder, Make You Feel My Love, all pretty decent. And compared to some of the other artists on this list, well, even as much as I've come to enjoy Jasmine Sullivan,
I fuck for sport. I fuck like it's being taped.
Out of the available nominees, at least, I mean, yeah, this is a pretty easy call. She was walking away with this. Believe me, that should tell you everything you need to know about this era because... Okay, here's the thing about 2008. In terms of debuts, there are actually some mega stars who do show up. And for at least one of them, it's a crime that they got overlooked. But it's interesting. Because some of the names I could include on this list are Carly Rae Jepsen, Demi Lovato, Charli XCX. Yeah, did y'all enjoy Brat Summer this year? It's been going on for a long time. I could technically include them here. But here's the thing. This is what they were doing on their debuts.
Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Do it with you. I want it just like making outside, fight for nothing. They all love you. They all want you.
Yeah, these are basically not even the same artists. And I'm cheating a little bit with Charli. This album was never commercially released. Though if through some miracle or something this had gotten big, 19 versus 14 at the Grammys would have been a hell of a headline. So yeah, this year is also a very strange one. In terms of other standouts, Foxborough Hot Tubs are actually the first thing that comes to mind for me, but only because I probably spun that damn album 1,000 times in the 2010s. She and Him also released their debut. I really liked them back in the day. If I wanted to be mean, I could call this another Weird Actor record. I mean, Zooey Deschanel is in this band. I don't know, they're too legit for me to do that. It wouldn't feel right for them. There's also Foal's pretty solid debut, Cage the Elephant's weirdly funky Red Hot Chili Peppers adjacent debut. Lisa Hannigan released her debut album, CISO. That's probably not one many people know about these days, but I mean, y'all remember I'm a big Damien Rice fan, so I was on board for this too. It's a cute little record. I enjoy it. I guess there's also like Ailstorm, though it probably kind of sucks being into them in 2024. Owl City shows up this year. Attack. But like y'all, those are the highlights, okay? That's as good as this year gets. And the fact that I have to include Attack, and Owl City on the good side of the artists should tell you a lot. Oh, y'all, we are in dire fucking straits this year. We've got more weird actor records. Wayne Brady put out a debut this year. Though that one at least makes a little sense. Wayne Brady's always had like a golden voice. I mean, yeah, I'd listen to a record, sure, dude. You got them pipes. Colin Mockery, when's yours coming out, you fucking coward? Scarlett Johansson, of all people, also released a record that year, to the shock of many folks and the delight of a few. Terrence Howard of Hustle and Flow and Almost War Machine fame released a very eccentric album of something he called symphonic folk soul. It's interesting, I'll give it that. But again, y'all, it should tell you something when even the celebrity jerk around albums are better than a lot of the other debuting crop. You know who else we have on this list? Fucking Flo Rida, Tyga, former Bad Album Covers veteran Big Country King. Apparently that next record is still TBA, even though his Wikipedia basically dies around 2012. Best of luck with that, dude. Nu metal basically all but confirms it's dead, with its biggest releases being from Hollywood Undead and Brian Head Welch. Yeah, I'm sorry, but when the biggest release from the genre is the weird Christian pivot from Korn's former guitarist, yeah, your genre's dead. To Head's credit, at least he ended up turning out better than Skillet did. Also, fun fact, this is the year that Queen debuted. Yes, Queen. No, not a different band named Queen. I mean Queen. That Queen, yes. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. This year is the debut record of Queen. And Paul Rogers.
Inside my heart is breaking. My makeup may be clear.
Queen tried to replace Freddie Mercury with this guy. That's not even the most cursed thing about this list by a mile. Oh, just you wait. Another content warning for the stupidest fucking shit you've ever seen if you're probably under 21. Roll the clip.
Good evening, Ahmed. Good evening, infidel.
Of all the shit I've talked about in this video, this is probably gonna be the thing that gets me demonetized. But y'all, like I mentioned up top, there is one artist that got shunned who puts all of these others to shame. In fact, it's such a huge difference in quality and scope that it's baffling to think that in a year this fucking dire, it also produced The Fame. Lady Gaga, Jeff Dunham, same year. And y'all wonder why the millennials are so goddamn weird. Bruh. again, all of your moms have guaranteed that Ms. Lori Blue Adkins is going to be sitting pretty for the rest of her life. An unreasonable amount of sales. These numbers are doubly impressive given the downward slide the music industry's experienced over the last decade. This woman went 3 times platinum in 2021, a year where almost no one went platinum. She did it 3 times. And hey, the fans still love her, the critics still love her, the academies really love her. Hell, this woman has won Grammys that I've never even heard of. Outside of, I don't know, 1 or 2 minor hiccups out there, she's never even really lost her cool. And even those few times she got the paparazzi up her ass, it was mostly just because her fans were acting like dickheads and she had to whip them back in line. If you fuckers had listened to Adele all those years ago, poor Chappell Roan and Ethel Cain wouldn't have to suffer today. With her level of success, it's kind of amazing that she hasn't spun out. Make no mistake, she's had her struggles, but she's always come out the other side, and she's always been able to take all those tragic events and turn it into great, interesting, and compelling material. Fuck, I wish I had the ability to do that. Yeah, y'all, overall, this year was absolutely cursed as a whole, but at the very least, we can leave things on a good note. This woman absolutely dodged the curse. Her class may not have been very great, but I gotta give it to her. She was a hell of a valedictorian. Thank God it's over. Again, we are not coming back to this series for a very, very long time. But thank you again for watching. Thanks for your patience. Next time you see me, I hope to God we'll be talking about something much less exhausting. I'm Crash Thompson. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you when I see ya. Take care. Special thanks to our $5 and above patrons, Aaron Walker, Christian Toder, David Perez, Dylan Rare Hunter, Nick Barros Johnson, The Pighead, Yoshi Taichi, Artemi Musha, Alex Sobolou, Ben One Eye, Chris Doman, David Prince, Fred Thomas, Jenna T is here, Lainey Wilson, Lilith Estelle, Mars Hunter, Michael K, Ness217, Rocked, Rowan Cookie, Sarah Aubin, Sean Lanigan, Warped Kia, Akshay W, Mark Grondin, and Dominic Noble.